You ever had one of those nights where your body is tired but your mind just won't shut up? You lying there staring at the ceiling, thinking about every mistake you ever made, every bill that's due tomorrow, every conversation you haven't even had yet. Anxiety will have you rehearsing arguments with people who ain't even thinking about you. It'll have you worrying about outcomes that haven't even happened. And before you know it, the sun is rising and you haven't closed your eyes once. That's what anxiety does. It sneaks in, it whispers lies, it makes your chest tight and your hands shake. And then to make it worse, you wake up the next morning, put on your best clothes, your brightest smile, and walk out the door like everything is fine. But inside, you're crumbling. You're smiling on the outside, but screaming on the inside. And too many of us know that feeling all too well, and let me be real with you. Sometimes you gotta laugh just to keep from crying. Anxiety will have you pacing the floor like a detective, checking your phone every 2 minutes, double checking if the stove is off even though you already checked it 3 times. You know what I mean? Anxiety will have you in Walmart with a full cart, second guessing every single item like you're about to be interviewed on national television about your grocery choices. Sometimes the only way to deal with how heavy it feels is to laugh for a second and say, Lord, really? I'm doing all this over something I can't even control. But here's what I came to tell you. Anxiety might be loud, but it doesn't get the last word. It may keep you up at night, but it doesn't get to define your life. Those chains can be broken. Because the truth is, what anxiety really is fear dressed up in fancy clothes. Fear of what might happen, fear of what could go wrong, fear of being not enough. But the good news is, fear is a liar. And when God steps in, chains don't stay locked. I know what it's like to carry that weight around. I know what it's like to smile in public and cry in private. I know what it's like to feel your heart racing for no reason at all. But I also know this, the same God that brought me through those nights is the same God who will bring you through yours. Because anxiety is strong, but God's peace is stronger. And his peace is not just the absence of worry, it's the presence of calm in the middle of chaos. Let me tell you about a friend of mine. She used to wake up every day with anxiety sitting on her chest like a heavy blanket. She'd dread going to work, dread answering the phone, dread stepping outside. And for the longest time, she thought that was just the way her life would always be. But one day, she decided to stop trying to carry it all on her own. She started praying, journaling, talking about it instead of hiding it. And little by little, she noticed a change. The chains that had held her for years started to loosen. And one day, she realized she was free. Not because the problems disappeared, but because she stopped letting fear control her future. That's the kind of freedom I'm talking about. And maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you're tired of carrying that weight. Maybe you're tired of pretending you're okay when you're not. Maybe you're tired of the sleepless nights and the overthinking that never ends. If that's you, I want you to hear me. You don't have to live like that forever. You can break the chains of anxiety. You can walk in peace. You can live free. It doesn't mean anxiety won't ever knock at your door again, but it does mean you don't have to invite it in and let it stay. It means when those thoughts start to rise, you can speak back and say, not today, I choose peace. I choose faith. I choose freedom. So I dare you, breathe deep, lift your head, and take that first step into freedom. Because you are stronger than your anxiety, you are greater than your fear, and with God's help, you can break every chain that's been holding you down. Don't just survive another day, live it free. Anxiety is a funny thing, not because it's entertaining, but because it sneaks up on you in ways you don't even notice until you're sitting there saying, what is wrong with me? You ever been in a room full of people smiling and laughing, but deep down you feel like you can't breathe? Everybody else thinks you're fine, but on the inside, your thoughts are running like they're late for a bus. Anxiety doesn't always come with a big sign announcing itself. Sometimes it shows up in small ways, tapping your foot under the table, biting your nails until they're gone, scrolling through your phone for hours because the silence feels too loud. And then sometimes it comes all at once like a wave crashing over you and you don't know if you're gonna sink or swim. It's heavy. That's the only way I know how to put it. It's heavy to wake up with your heart already racing before your feet even hit the floor. It's heavy when your mind runs ahead of you, writing stories of worst-case scenarios, turning tomorrow's possibilities into today's problems. Anxiety has a way of putting you on trial for crimes you haven't even committed yet. It'll make you rehearse conversations you may never have, prepare for disasters that may never happen, and fight battles that may never come. And the thing about it is, you're tired not because you've been running, because your mind has been sprinting all day long. And it won't give you a break. I know I'm talking to somebody right now who knows exactly what I mean. You put on your best clothes, you go to work, you smile, you shake hands, you even say, I'm fine, when people ask how you're doing. But inside, you're carrying this invisible weight, and the worst part, nobody can see it, nobody knows. Because anxiety is the kind of chain that doesn't always jingle loud enough for others to hear. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it hides. Sometimes it disguises itself as just being careful or just being prepared. But really, it's fear gripping your chest so tight that you can't even enjoy the moment you're in. It doesn't care who you are, how much money you make, or what title you carry. Anxiety doesn't discriminate. It doesn't check your bank account before it shows up. It doesn't care if you're successful or struggling, young or old, married or single. It'll slide right in and try to convince you that you're not enough, that you're failing, that you're going to lose everything. And you know what makes it worse? When you start comparing yourself to everybody else, you see them smiling on Instagram looking like their life is perfect, and suddenly your anxiety doubles down. It says, see, look at them. They've got it all together, and here you are, falling apart. But let me tell you something. Comparison is a liar. Half the folks you think got it all together are crying themselves to sleep at night too. They just don't post that part. Now let me bring a little ladder in here, because sometimes you gotta laugh to keep from losing it. Anxiety will have you triple, checking that you locked the door, even though you just checked it 5 seconds ago. It'll have you thinking the email you sent yesterday is gonna end your whole career because you forgot a comma. It'll have you sitting in church, trying to focus on the message, but your mind is running like, did I leave the stove on? Did I say something stupid in that conversation last week? What if everybody secretly hates me? Come on now, you know what I'm talking about. Anxiety will have you fighting battles that don't even exist. But let's be real, underneath the humor, it's painful. Because living with anxiety feels like living in a cage where the bars are made out of your own thoughts. It's like walking around with a shadow that never lets you rest. And sometimes people who don't understand will say things like, just calm down or just stop worrying. If it was that easy, don't you think we would have done it already? Anxiety doesn't go away just because somebody told you to breathe. It's not about being weak. It's not about lacking faith. It's about the weight that builds when your mind won't stop replaying every possible outcome, every mistake, every fear. And you can feel so isolated because you don't know how to explain it without sounding crazy. But let me tell you, you're not crazy, you're human. And you're not alone. I want to pause right here and speak to the person who's been hiding it. The one who jokes in public but cries in private. The one who holds everybody else together while silently falling apart themselves. The one who shows up for everybody but feels like nobody would show up for them. You matter, and your struggle is real. But just because it's real doesn't mean it's permanent. Just because it's heavy doesn't mean you can't be free. See, anxiety thrives in silence. It grows in the dark. The more you keep it bottled up, the stronger it feels. That's why the first step is to name it, to call it out, to say, this is what I'm feeling. Because once you name it, it loses some of its power. Once you talk about it, once you bring it into the light, it can't chain you the same way it used to. And here's the thing, everybody is carrying something. Everybody has some kind of chain. Yours might be anxiety, but somebody else is carrying depression or addiction or shame or guilt. Nobody's walking around completely free on their own. But the difference is some people are brave enough to say, this is my struggle, but it's not my identity. And when you get there, when you can say, yes, I fight anxiety, but anxiety doesn't define me, that's when the chains start to crack. And let me remind you of this truth, your anxiety is not stronger than your destiny. You may feel bound right now, you may feel weighed down, but chains are not eternal. They can be broken, they'll be broken. You've survived too much, you've made it too far for this to be the end of your story. Anxiety might be part of your journey, but it's not the final chapter. There is peace waiting for you. There is freedom waiting for you. There is life beyond the cage of overthinking, beyond the prison of fear. And if you can believe, even just for a moment, that you are worthy of that freedom, then you've already taken the first step to breaking those chains. So the next time your mind starts racing, the next time anxiety tries to tell you that you can't, that you won't, that you're not enough, I want you to remember this. You've been through storms before and you're still here. You've faced battles before and you're still standing. Anxiety may shout, but your strength whispers louder. And with every breath you take, you are proving to yourself and to the world, those chains don't get to win. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get said enough. Sometimes the only way to carry the weight of anxiety is to laugh in the middle of it. Not because it's funny, not because it's light, but because humor is one of the only tools that gives your spirit a break. Have you ever noticed that anxiety has this way of taking little things and blowing them all the way out of proportion? Like you text somebody, hey, how you doing? And they don't respond right away. Anxiety will have you writing a whole novel in your head. They're mad at me. I must have said something wrong. They probably hate me now. Maybe I should call and apologize. Meanwhile, the person is just at Target picking up laundry detergent, and here you are, pacing like you're about to lose your best friend. That's how wild anxiety can be, and sometimes the only way to handle how ridiculous it is to laugh. Now don't get me wrong, anxiety is serious. It's heavy, it can be paralyzing. But here's the thing, laughter is medicine. You ever notice that moment when you're in the middle of stress and something small happens that makes you laugh? Like you drop your keys and it bounces in the most random way. Or your kid says something off the wall that makes no sense but somehow feels like the smartest thing you've ever heard. In that little moment, the chains loosen just a little. It doesn't mean the anxiety disappears, but it means you've taken your power back for a second. Because anxiety wants to keep you in a place of constant fear, constant pressure, constant worry. But laughter says, I see you, but you don't own me. I'll never forget this one time I was sitting in a waiting room, anxious out of my mind about a doctor's appointment. My thoughts were racing. What if they find something wrong? What if it's bad? What if this changes everything? And while I'm sitting there working myself up, this little boy across the room just bursts out laughing. Nothing happened. He was just staring at a balloon tied to a chair. But to him, that balloon was the funniest thing in the world. And you know what? For a moment, I started laughing too. I couldn't help it. Here I was drowning in my thoughts, and that child reminded me that sometimes life is not as heavy as we make it. Sometimes we need to stop rehearsing disasters and just laugh at balloons. Anxiety will have you living 10 steps ahead in a future that doesn't even exist yet. It'll have you worrying about bills that haven't even come in the mail, arguments that haven't even been spoken, outcomes that haven't even happened. And in the middle of that, finding something to laugh about is like turning on a light in a dark room. It doesn't erase the shadows, but it makes them less scary. Some of y'all know what I mean when I say anxiety will make you believe your boss is about to fire you just because they said, "Can I see you in my office?" And then you walk in there sweating bullets, already rehearsing your unemployment speech, only for them to say, "Hey, we're ordering pizza for the staff. What kind do you want?" That's anxiety for you. It takes you on roller coasters you didn't even buy a ticket for. But listen to me. If you don't find moments to laugh, that weight will crush you. Anxiety is like a storm cloud that follows you everywhere, but humor is like the umbrella that lets you keep walking. And I'm not talking about ignoring your feelings or pretending everything is fine. I'm talking about giving yourself permission to find joy even when you don't have all the answers. Because joy is not about everything being perfect. Joy is about finding light in the middle of the imperfect. And let me tell you something. You deserve that. You deserve to laugh. You deserve to smile. You deserve to have moments where your soul feels lighter, even if the problems aren't gone yet. Some people think they have to wait until everything is fixed before they can enjoy life. But if you wait for everything to be perfect, you'll never laugh again. Life will always have stress, bills, responsibilities, and challenges. But what you can choose, even in the middle of all that, is to not let anxiety have the only voice. You can decide to smile anyway. You can decide to laugh anyway. You can decide to take back your joy piece by piece. I know somebody right now is listening and thinking, "But you don't understand, my anxiety is too heavy for laughter." And I hear you. I know it feels that way. But laughter is not about denying the pain. It's about making space for healing. Think about it every time you laugh. Your body relaxes just a little. Your chest loosens just a little. The chain shakes a little. Maybe one link falls off. That's how you break it over time. Not with one big moment, but with small acts of reclaiming your peace. You don't have to perform for anybody. You don't have to pretend you're not struggling. But you do owe it to yourself to find moments that make you smile. Call that friend who always knows how to make you laugh. Watch that silly movie that makes no sense but cracks you up every time. Laugh at yourself when you realize you've been stressing over something you can't even control. Because in those moments, you're breaking chains without even realizing it. Anxiety doesn't know what to do when you laugh in its face. It loses its grip because laughter is proof that it hasn't stolen all of you. And here's what's powerful: laughter and anxiety can't live in the same space for long. One has to go. That's why you need to make joy a practice. Don't wait for it to come by accident. Look for it, hunt it down, build it into your day. Write down something funny that happened, even if it's small. Keep it as a reminder that life isn't all heavy, even when it feels that way. Because if you train your mind to see moments of light, then little by little, anxiety won't be the only voice you hear. So yes, anxiety is real. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it weighs on you. But no, it doesn't get to steal your laughter forever. No, it doesn't get to silence your joy. Because every time you laugh, you're saying, "I'm still here. I'm still fighting. I'm free enough to feel joy even in this storm." And that, my friend, is how you start breaking the chains. One of the hardest parts about anxiety is that most of the time, it's a silent battle. You walk through life looking like you've got it all together, but inside, you're wrestling with thoughts that just won't stop. And because it's invisible, people don't always believe you when you say you're struggling. They see the smile, the outfit, the handshake, the small talk, and they assume you're fine. But they don't know that last night you couldn't sleep because your heart wouldn't calm down, or that on the way here you had to give yourself a whole pep talk just to walk through the door. Anxiety hides well, and that's what makes it feel so lonely. You can be surrounded by people and still feel like nobody sees what you're really going through. It's like carrying a backpack full of bricks that no one else can see. Folks come up to you saying, "You're so strong," or "You've got it all together," and in your head you're thinking, "If only you knew." Because the truth is, sometimes the people who look the strongest are the ones who cry the hardest when they finally get behind closed doors. Anxiety doesn't always show itself in public breakdowns or loud cries for help. Sometimes it looks like sitting at your desk with a smile plastered on your face while your insides are screaming. Sometimes it looks like saying, "I'm good," out of habit, because explaining the storm inside your chest feels too exhausting. And that's what makes anxiety one of the cruelest battles. You're fighting it in silence while the world keeps moving like nothing is wrong. I remember someone once telling me, "You don't look anxious." And I thought, what does anxious even look like? Because anxiety doesn't have a face. Anxiety doesn't always mean pacing the floor or crying in the corner. Sometimes it looks like the class clown, making everybody laugh while they're hurting the most. Sometimes it looks like the overachiever who's doing everything perfectly because inside they're terrified of failing. Sometimes it looks like the mother who shows up for her kids every day, but cries herself to sleep when they're finally in bed. You can't always see anxiety, but that doesn't mean it isn't real. And because people can't always see it, they don't always understand the weight of it. They'll say things like, "Just relax," or "You worry too much," as if it's a choice, as if you haven't already tried everything to calm down. That's why the silent battle feels so heavy, because you're already fighting your own thoughts, and on top of that, you're carrying the burden of feeling misunderstood. You're tired, not just from the anxiety itself, but from pretending you're okay when you're not. That mask you wear gets heavy too. Now let me be real with you. Silence is where anxiety grows strongest. When you don't tell anybody what you're dealing with, those thoughts echo louder in your head. You replay every mistake, every fear, every worst case scenario. And without anyone to share it with, it feels like those thoughts become the truth. Anxiety feeds off isolation. It tells you nobody else feels this way. Nobody would understand. You're weak if you admit it. And so you keep it all bottled up until you can't hold it anymore. And that's when it breaks you. That's when you feel like you can't carry it another step. But here's the thing, you don't have to fight it alone. The silence is where anxiety wins, but the moment you open your mouth, the moment you let someone in, the chains start to loosen. I know it feels scary to tell somebody what you're really going through. I know it feels like they won't understand, like they might even judge you. But you'd be surprised how many people are walking around with the same chains, just waiting for somebody else to admit it first. When you say, I'm struggling, you're not showing weakness. You're showing strength. You're saying, this battle is real, but I'm brave enough to bring it into the light. And the light is where healing begins. Let me tell you something about silence. It will convince you that you're alone, but you're not. There are people who love you, people who would be right there for you if you let them in. And even if they don't fully understand anxiety, they understand love. Sometimes you don't need somebody to fix it. You just need somebody to sit with you while you breathe through it. You need somebody to say, I don't know what to say, but I'm not going anywhere. Because the truth is, the battle feels a whole lot lighter when you don't have to fight it in the dark by yourself. Now, I know some of you are saying, but I don't want to be a burden. That's what anxiety whispers, right? That your feelings are too much, that your pain will push people away. But let me flip that for you. If someone you love came to you crying, saying they were overwhelmed, would you see them as a burden? Or would you say, I'm glad you told me I'm here for you? See, the same compassion you give to someone else, you deserve too. Stop treating yourself like you're unworthy of the same love and care you freely give away. And for those who still feel like they can't talk to anybody, I want you to hear me when I say this, your silence doesn't make you strong, it makes you suffer. You don't have to announce it to the whole world, but even if you open up to one person, even if you write it down in a journal, even if you whisper it in prayer, that act of breaking the silence is powerful. It's saying, this chain doesn't get to keep me hidden anymore. Because here's the truth, the silent battle of anxiety may feel invisible to others, but it's loud and real to you. And it's okay to admit that. It's okay to say, I'm not okay right now. It's okay to stop pretending for a minute, because pretending only makes the silence heavier. But honesty cracks the chain. You are not alone in this. You are not crazy. You are not weak. You are human. And being human means sometimes you struggle. Being human means sometimes you carry things nobody else can see. But being human also means you're resilient. You're stronger than you think. You're braver than you feel. And just because your battle is silent doesn't mean your victory will be. So to the one who's been fighting anxiety in silence, hear me loud and clear. You are seen, you are heard, and you are not alone. The silence may be where the battle began, but it doesn't have to be where it ends. Speak up, let someone in, take off the mask, and little by little, watch those chains start to fall. When you're in the middle of anxiety, it feels like a storm that just won't end. You can be standing in the brightest sunshine, and inside it's nothing but thunder, lightning, and heavy rain. You try to smile, you try to act normal, but the storm keeps raging in your chest, in your mind, in your spirit. Anxiety doesn't ask permission, it shows up when it wants, sits down where it wants, and sometimes it feels like it takes over your whole house. But here's the thing, even in the middle of the storm, you are not powerless. Even in the wind and the waves, there is something greater holding you steady. You may feel like you're drowning, but if you stop and listen, you'll realize there's still an anchor keeping you from being swept away. That anchor is your strength, your faith, your belief that no matter how bad it gets, this storm will pass. I know it's hard to believe that when you're in the middle of it. Anxiety convinces you that the storm is forever, that the clouds will never break, that the waves will never calm down. It tells you, this is just how you'll always be, nervous, worried, restless. But I'm here to tell you, storms don't last forever. They can be violent. They can be loud, they can shake you to your core, but eventually they pass. And when they do, you'll see that you were stronger than you thought. Because strength is not about never feeling anxious, never feeling afraid. Strength is about standing in the rain and saying, I may be wet, I may be tired, but I'm still standing. Some of you right now are going through storms so heavy you don't even know how you made it out of bed this morning. You put on your clothes, you got in your car, you showed up, and people don't even realize that was your victory today. They don't know the war you fought just to look normal. That's why I need you to hear this. Showing up in the middle of the storm is strength. Breathing in the middle of the storm is strength. Smiling when your chest feels tight is strength. Don't let anybody make you feel weak for having anxiety. You are strong because you're surviving something that nobody else can fully see. But here's where faith comes in. Strength will keep you standing, but faith will keep you believing that there's peace on the other side. Faith says, I don't have to see the sun yet to know it's coming. Faith says, even though the storm is loud, I believe there's a calm waiting for me. Anxiety screams loud, but faith whispers, and that whisper is enough. That whisper says, hold on, don't give up, don't quit here. And sometimes that whisper is all you need to make it through the night. I remember hearing someone once say that storms test the strength of the tree. When the wind blows hard, the tree bends, but if its roots are deep, it won't fall. Anxiety will make you bend, it will push you, it will shake you, it will try to break you. But if your roots are deep in something solid, you will not fall. And every storm you survive makes your roots grow deeper. Every time you come out on the other side, you realize, I didn't think I could do it, but I did. That realization alone breaks another link in the chain. Because anxiety wants you to believe you're fragile, that you're weak, that one strong wind will take you out. But your life is proof that you've survived storms before, and if you survived before, you can survive again. Sometimes we think strength means we have to fight the storm head on, but real strength is learning how to rest in the storm. To say, I don't have all the answers. I don't know how long this will last, but I know it won't destroy me. Real strength is letting yourself cry when you need to cry, breathe when you need to breathe, and still keep moving when your legs feel heavy. Real strength is understanding that storms may knock you down, but they can't keep you there. You get back up, you keep walking. You keep believing that calm is coming. And let me tell you something, storms are temporary, but the strength and wisdom you gain from surviving them is permanent. Anxiety may come back, but every time it does, you've got another testimony to remind yourself, I've been here before and I made it through. That's what faith and strength do. They give you memory. They give you something to hold on to when the storm is raging. So the next time anxiety tries to convince you that you won't survive, you can say, wait a minute, this is not my first storm. I know how to stand in the rain. I know how to wait for the clouds to break. I've seen light come after the dark before, and it will happen again. I know some of you right now are waiting for the storm to end. You're tired, you're drained, you're asking, when will this be over? And I can't tell you the exact day or hour, but what I can tell you is that storms always have an expiration date. They may not end on your timeline, but they end. And until they do, hold on to your strength, hold on to your faith, hold on to the promise that the rain can't fall forever. Because no matter how dark the clouds look, the sun is still behind them. It may be hidden, but it hasn't gone anywhere. And when the time is right, it will shine again. So when anxiety rages like a storm, plant your feet, anchor yourself, and remind yourself that you are not alone in this. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep holding on. Let faith whisper louder than fear. Let strength carry you when you feel too weak to move. And trust that one day, you'll look back at this storm and realize it didn't break you, it built you. Anxiety has a sneaky way of trying to tell you who you are. It whispers lies into your spirit, convincing you that your struggle is your identity. It says, you're nothing but your panic. You're nothing but your worry. You'll never be more than your fear. And when you've lived with it for a long time, you start to believe it. You start to introduce yourself not as who you really are, but as the label your struggle gave you. You start thinking, I'm the anxious one, I'm the broken one, I'm the one who can't get it together. But let me tell you something, that is not who you are. Anxiety may be something you're dealing with, but it is not your name, it is not your destiny, and it is not your identity. You were born with a purpose before anxiety ever showed up. The problem is when you're in the thick of it, you forget that. You forget who you were before anxiety started talking so loud. You forget that you have dreams, talents, gifts, and callings that exist outside of this struggle. Anxiety makes your world small. It makes you think all you are is the worry, the racing thoughts, the sleepless nights. But let me remind you, your story is bigger than this chapter. You are not defined by the chain you're fighting. You are defined by the power, the resilience, the fire inside you that refuses to give up even when the chain tries to hold you down. Think about it. If anxiety could really define you, you wouldn't still be here. But you are. You're breathing, you're listening. You're showing up even in the middle of your storm. That right there proves that you are more than the chain. You are the fighter who refuses to be crushed by it. You are the one who wakes up every day, maybe tired, maybe scared, but still willing to try again. That is your identity. Not brokenness, but strength. Not fear, but persistence. Not defeat, but resilience. It's time to start reclaiming who you really are. Start speaking over yourself what anxiety tries to take away. Anxiety says you're weak. You say, no, I'm strong because I'm still standing. Anxiety says you're alone. You say, no, I'm loved, I'm supported. I'm not walking this road by myself. Anxiety says you'll never be free. You say, watch me. These chains don't get the final word. You have to start reclaiming the voice inside you that belongs to you, not the one anxiety planted there. And don't get me wrong, I know it's not easy. When you've been living with anxiety for so long, it feels like it's part of your DNA. But it's not. You may carry it, but it does not define you. The real you is still in there. The one who dreams big, who laughs loud, who loves deeply, who shines bright. The chain may have dimmed your light, but it never put it out. And every time you stand up and say, this is not all I am, your light shines a little brighter. See, anxiety wants you to forget your worth. It wants you to believe you're less than, not enough, too broken. But reclaiming your identity means saying, I am worthy. I am valuable. I am more than my struggle. Because you are. You are more than the nights you cried yourself to sleep. You are more than the mornings you couldn't get out of bed. You are more than the panic attacks, more than the overthinking, more than the fear of the future. Those are battles you fight, but they are not who you are. Who you are is somebody powerful, somebody chosen, somebody with a purpose that anxiety can't erase. And here's the truth, the chain of anxiety only has power when you believe it's your whole life. The moment you realize you're more than the chain, it starts to lose its grip. That's why reclaiming your identity is such a powerful act of freedom. It's not about pretending anxiety doesn't exist. It's about refusing to let it tell your story. You say, yes, I struggle. Yes, I have bad days, but I am still a person with a destiny bigger than this. Let me paint this picture for you. Imagine you're holding a book. Anxiety is just one chapter in that book. It may be a long chapter. It may even feel like the whole story, but it's not. There are chapters before it, and there are chapters after it. And in those chapters, there's joy, there's love, there's healing, there's laughter, there's peace. But if you close the book and say, this chapter is all I'll ever be, you miss the ending. Reclaiming your identity means reminding yourself that this story is not finished yet. You're still turning pages, and the ending will not be written by your fear. It's also about remembering what anxiety can't touch. It can shake your thoughts, it can rattle your emotions, but it cannot take away the core of who you are. It can't erase your kindness. It can't erase your creativity. It can't erase your love for the people around you. It can't erase your heart. No matter how loud anxiety gets, those parts of you are still there, untouched, waiting for you to claim them again. You are not your anxiety. Say that to yourself. Say it until you believe it. Say it when you wake up. Say it when you're having a panic attack. Say it when you're overthinking everything. I am not my anxiety. I am more than this. I am greater than this. Because every time you say it, you remind yourself of the truth. And the truth is stronger than the lies. So today, I want you to start breaking the chain by reclaiming your name. Stop letting anxiety name you. Stop letting it write your story. You have a name, you have a purpose, you have an identity that existed before anxiety, and it will exist long after anxiety has left. Don't forget who you are. Don't forget how strong you've been. Don't forget the fire inside you. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not your fear. You are a warrior, a survivor, a fighter, a dreamer, a believer. That is who you are. That is your identity. And the more you walk in it, the weaker those chains become, until one day you realize they don't hold you anymore. There's something about the promise of freedom that can keep a person alive even in the darkest moments. When anxiety has you bound, when it feels like chains are wrapped around your mind and your chest so tight that you can't breathe, the thought of freedom feels almost too good to imagine. But I need you to hear me, freedom is not just a dream, it is a reality waiting for you. Anxiety will try to convince you that you will live chained forever, that the panic, the worry, the fear will always have the last word. But the truth is, those chains don't have the power to keep you bound unless you give them permission. You are not created to live in bondage. You are created for freedom, and that freedom is closer than you think. The promise of freedom doesn't mean you'll never feel anxious again. It means anxiety will no longer control you. It won't dictate your choices. It won't hold you hostage. It won't define your identity. Freedom means you can feel the fear, acknowledge it, and still walk forward anyway. It means you may still hear anxiety's voice, but it no longer has the authority to direct your steps. Imagine that for a second. Imagine living life not as a prisoner to fear, but as somebody who carries peace even in the middle of storms. That's the kind of freedom that's waiting for you. I know some people don't believe it's possible. They've been chained so long that they think the chains are permanent. They think, this is just how I'll always be. But I need to remind you, chains are meant to be broken. That's what chains are, temporary restraints, not eternal sentences. They're strong, yes, but they are not stronger than the power within you. They can hold for a while, but they cannot hold forever. Freedom is not just possible, it's promised. And when you start believing in that promise, the chains start losing their grip. Let me tell you something about peace. It's not just the absence of anxiety. It's the presence of calm even when life is loud. Lasting peace is what happens when you stop letting your fear be the boss of you. It doesn't mean the noise goes away, but it means the noise no longer runs your life. Lasting peace says, yes, I hear you, anxiety, but I choose not to bow to you anymore. It says, yes, I feel the tension, but I also know there's a calm within me that anxiety cannot touch. That peace is not found in perfection, it's found in surrender. It's found in letting go of the need to control everything and trusting that even when you don't have all the answers, you are still safe, still loved, still held. Freedom also comes with perspective. When you've been chained and then you break free, you see the world differently. The things that once terrified you lose their power. The lies anxiety told you don't ring as true anymore. You look back at the battles you survived and realize, if I can survive that, I can survive anything. That perspective itself is freedom, no longer living as a victim of fear, but as a testimony of resilience. And that's what you are, a testimony. Every breath you take, every time you choose to get up and keep going, you are living proof that anxiety doesn't win. I know the road to freedom isn't easy. Breaking chains takes work. It takes courage to face what's been holding you. It takes patience with yourself when you fall down and have to get back up. But here's the thing. Every step you take toward peace is a step further away from bondage. Every day you fight back, every day you speak truth over yourself, every day you refuse to give in, those are victories. And if you keep stacking up small victories, one day you'll wake up and realize the chains that once held you don't fit anymore. They've fallen off and you're walking in a new level of freedom. That's the beauty of this journey. Freedom doesn't always come in one big moment. Sometimes it comes piece by piece, day by day, chain link by chain link. One day you realize you laugh without overthinking. Another day you realize you slept through the night without waking in panic. Another day you say yes to an opportunity you would have once been too afraid to accept. Those moments add up. They're proof that peace is taking root. And eventually those small glimpses of peace become your new normal. And when you finally step into that lasting peace, you'll discover something even more beautiful. Your life is no longer about surviving anxiety, but about thriving in purpose. You stop asking, how can I get through this? And start asking, what am I here to do? That's real freedom. It's not just about escaping fear. It's about living fully, boldly, unapologetically. Anxiety tries to shrink your world, but freedom expands it. It reminds you that there is more to life than worry, more to you than fear, more to your story than struggle. And let me remind you of this. Peace is your inheritance. It's your right. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to earn it. You just have to step into it. It's already waiting for you. Lasting peace is like a home that's been built just for you, and all you have to do is walk inside and rest. Yes, it takes courage to let go of the chains because they've been familiar for so long. Yes, it takes faith to believe there's a better way to live. But once you step into that peace, you'll never want to go back. So if you're listening to me right now and you feel bound, I want you to hold on to this promise. Freedom is coming. Peace is coming. You will not lie chained forever. There will come a day when the panic doesn't rule you, when the fear doesn't drive you, when the worry doesn't consume you. There will come a day when you laugh without fear of tomorrow, when you rest without tossing and turning, when you walk boldly into your purpose. That day is not a fantasy, it's a promise. And if you keep holding on, if you keep fighting, if you keep believing, you will see it for yourself. Freedom and lasting peace are not just words, they are realities waiting to be lived. They are the reward for every battle you've fought, every tear you've cried, every night you've held on when you thought you couldn't. So don't give up now. The chains are breaking, peace is rising, freedom is yours. Walk in it, claim it, and never let it go. Because once you step into that kind of freedom, once you taste that kind of peace, you'll know anxiety may have been part of your journey, but it does not get to write your ending. Family, as we come to the end of this message, I want you to sit with this truth. Anxiety is not the end of your story. It may have had chapters, it may have had seasons, but it does not get to write the book of your life. You've been carrying chains for too long, letting them tell you who you are and what you can't do. But tonight, I'm telling you, those chains are breaking. They've been rattling, they've been heavy, but they are not unbreakable. And if you keep standing, if you keep believing, if you keep holding on to hope, one day you'll look back and see that what was once binding you has fallen to the ground. I know the journey isn't easy. I know there are nights where the weight feels unbearable, mornings when it feels impossible to even rise. But the fact that you're still here means you're stronger than you think. You're not here by accident. You're here because purpose is pulling you forward. You're here because there's something inside you that anxiety cannot destroy. That's why you can't quit now. That's why you can't give up. Don't you ever forget that you are more than your struggle. You are more than the fear, more than the worry, more than the panic. You're worthy of freedom. You're worthy of peace. You are worthy of joy. And every single day, you take one more step toward that promise. So tonight, let this be your declaration. I will not be defined by my anxiety. I will not let fear hold me hostage. I will break these chains. I will live free. I will walk in peace. Say it until you believe it. Say it until the chains lose their grip. Say it until your spirit rises above the noise. And when you finally step into that freedom, because you will, remember this moment. Remember how far you came. Remember what you survived. Remember the nights you thought you wouldn't make it. Let your testimony be a light for someone else still in the dark. Because freedom isn't just for you. It's for everyone connected to you. When you break your chains, you inspire somebody else to break theirs. So go forward with your head high, your spirit strong, and your heart open. The chains are breaking, the peace is coming, and your story is still being written. And trust me, the best chapters are still ahead.